Hello. Welcome to another session of Data and Dollars with Doug. Doug, so nice to see you. I know you've been extremely busy. You're in the process of merging and all that. And I know you're preparing to go on vacation. So we're extremely grateful to get some of your time. And I know how valuable time is. So thank you so
It is.
much. Thank you so
No
much.
worries. No worries. Thanks for being here for today. It's a good thing. We got plenty to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world, and so excited to see what we get into today, Wayne.
Yeah. So when you say that, I was telling you, I'm building my wife's forever home right now at the lake. And so I've been trying to keep an eye on where the construction market is, where it's headed. And I was looking at an article last week or the week before, I think it was just last week, about Reuters from their June data. And it says that single family homes are down about 4% and overall construction is down about 1.5% year over year. And I would have thought that I'd see some of that better pricing at the lumber yards and purchasing construction materials. Now, I do have to say that it's better than it was 3 years ago when I was looking at building. Sometimes that's how slow I am, right? I started this project 3 years ago. I'm just now getting to the hammer and nail portion. But boy, 2x4s several years ago were $6 to $7 for stud grade. Now, paying $2. So it's dropped a lot. But what's driving this market? And another thing that I know that you're familiar with, and I try to keep an eye on, especially for our automotive ag and construction dealers, is the Brent crude market. And there for a while it was trending downward. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about we're going to get down below $60-$70 a barrel, and we did. Now it seems like it's shooting right back up towards the $100 barrel mark.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of whiplash in the last 30 days on oil prices,
Boy,
and it's amazing how coordinated news is to the market on that. Whatever comes out of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, it instantly impacts. And so when we were a few weeks ago, if you remember the glory days of we have a cease, we're
yes,
gonna cease fire, we're gonna quit blowing each other up, and now we're back at it. That's the roller coaster we're on. And so I actually saw in the last couple of days that there's been a little relief at the pump. I'm not sure what that is locally. I don't know. But you're right. We did find some sub $3 a gallon gas in
yes,
our area here in Kentucky. And, you kind of feel like, all right, I'm going to have a few extra dollars, take my kids on a little vacation or something prior to going back to school. But, it popped back up to 3.5 so quick it'd make your head spin. So, yeah, very tied into that. As far as the home loan market, though, I mean, lumber and everything was so affected post COVID because of the supply and demand and the logistics of moving lumber across the country. The one thing the trucking world over the last, I'm going to call it 3 or 4 months, I've been watching it pretty closely with some good customers of ours who, you're trying, like everything, when everything ebbs and flows. Well, when it ebbed, we were trying to be there for them and watch that. But they've been able to get their mileage reimbursements have been going up. So that's been good. They're busy. Every truck's running, that kind of stuff. They don't have things sitting still. But that took some federal work on that too, of just putting common sense back into the trucking industry. So logistically, I think things are moving. I mean, it's maybe why you're getting a little cheaper two before today than what you may have gotten previously. But to your point earlier, we were talking about the price of diesel. That's still sitting there at $5. You got to get paid to drive that big truck over the road, and so you got to be able to make a reasonable return to pay for $5 gas on the rig. So
yeah, and we were just talking with a dealer group last week that is part of our Edge program, and we are discussing with the parts managers. They were actually complaining about, we had built a chart for freight and said, hey, if it's this size of package, weighs between this poundage and this poundage, charge X. If it's this one and this size, charge Y. And they were looking and saying, look, a couple of our vendors, their freight is 3 and 4 times higher than what we put on this chart. And we're just getting our tails kicked. And so one of the manufacturers, I ended up calling them and went through a whole series of people and finally got to the right division and was talking to him. And I said, look, you guys' freight is seriously out of control, right? I mean, when you're shipping us a a fan motor, right, with a fan on it, and it weighs what it weighed 38 pounds or whatever it was. It wasn't a huge box, and they're charging you $600 for freight, continental U.S., state to state. And I was like, look it up. You look it up, and you tell me what your shipper's charging you guys. And he did come back and say, yeah, Wayne, I don't know, our algorithm's off. And so he was going to dig into it, but some of those freight charges are absolutely ridiculous. Now I get it, right? Diesel fuel is $5 a gallon. Our ag people, our construction dealers, they're all struggling with that. Is a high input cost, and it's got to be recovered. But I don't know when
Yeah,
it's going to
and
get
which
back to
passes
three.
on down to the consumer, right? That's the only place you can get it recovered. Higher
Exactly.
prices on inputs have to show up at the storefront or at the consumer level, and I think that's why you may be able to get the 2 before a little cheaper, but to move it is still where the cost is coming in at, and that so it is still showing up. But that's where the higher inflation concerns still reside with the Federal Reserve. The last meeting they came out of, they talked about inflation is just not getting to the 2% level. In fact, it had popped up back over 3. So, but then when you look at the economy behind that and the ability to buy and sell goods, people are hard, still hard, but corporately, people are still spending money. Housing starts are down a little, but not to a detrimental amount. Thanks, Wayne. We appreciate you holding that number up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just really amazing that we've been able to sustain such a strong economy in light of international issues and inflation. But we are still growing our GDP in places, and I just think that is an amazing statistic right now. And you know, um, we're trying now to figure out what's going to come out of the field this fall. We've got the crop reports in, corn acres are down for us, and there's some international pressure on supply. I saw somebody today making a case for $6 corn, which I would be thrilled with as a banker, to put
Sure.
us back in. Yeah, because even if it goes up, our profitability is still pretty tough in that marketplace. So, yeah, lots of ebbs and flows, but at the same time, lots of opportunity going on.
So, that same Reuters article that I was reading was talking about the Federal Reserve, and when you mentioned it, their thought is we're probably not going to see any interest breaks throughout the remainder of the year. You think that's true?
Yeah, right now there's not a single board of governor that is saying that there's going to be an interest rate decrease right now. I think everybody's voted that it's most likely to go up, and now we're trying to guess how many. And so I've seen cases from 1 jump to 3. They're working really hard trying to keep them level right now, and we're not at a terrible spot
We're
from
really
a
not.
borrowing standpoint. We're not. We're kind of in that. I'd rather just not disrupt and keep working on the things we can work on, whether that's this money flow out in treasuries or reduction, whatever we need to do so that we don't overstimulate the economy, we don't overheat it, but don't leave it. We can't lag either. You can't be behind inflation too far, or you'll be 1978 to 80 again. We knew what happened there. We don't want that at all.
Not at
But
all.
I do think that one of the things that agriculture has always led and construction has always led our economy out of its perils, right? Um, that I've preached that on here before. And if we can pull a big crop out, even though it may not be worth a ton of money, you can do a lot with volume, and that'll help out. So, cautiously optimistic about both construction and ag moving into the fall at this point.
You know, when you were talking earlier about our inflation keeps chugging along, or not our inflation, our economy keeps chugging along. I fly pretty much every week, right? And I'm with you. I don't understand what keeps driving our economy because when I go to the airports, every airplane I'm on is full. The airports are packed and busy. And I'm just thinking, when I look at everything on a macro level, I'm thinking, man, I need to put that money in my wallet, close it up, put it in my back pocket, and sit on it and don't budge. But people are out there spending and spending like crazy, which is great. It keeps us moving, but I don't understand where and how.
Yeah. So as long as everybody who wants to work can work, jobs have held their head up. We haven't seen a ton of negative job data over the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I have to really go back and study it to give you an honest number. But well, you're still creating jobs, net new jobs every month on the non-farm payroll number. That means people are working. And now we've got a big majority of our population, a larger percentage than I would like that that don't. And for some reason or other, or that are not looking, and we have people that fall out of that equation every month. I can't imagine what our country's productivity would look like if we picked up several points there of more people going back and looking. But um, there's still money there, right? As long as programs and assistance are there, coupled with the people that want to work are working, that's a pretty good formula for airports being full, planes being full, new cars being bought, houses starting. I mean, it's hard to argue where we're at. But boy, we do a good job of arguing about where we're at. Um,
Well, and
but tough is still tough.
speaking of our car dealers, we work with quite a few car dealers as well.
You
And
do.
yeah, car sales are pretty flat. I mean, right now,
Inventories are big right now.
yes, and that's bad for those dealers, right? I mean, they're really interest rate sensitive right now because, like you say, the OEMs keep pushing those dealers, hey, buy more, buy more, buy more,
Buy more,
put
buy
it on
more.
floor plan. It's not moving. The average price of a vehicle right now is $49,785. That's
Wow.
average price, right?
Yeah.
And so average price of a new vehicle, 49,007. And a lot of our automotive stores are really slow and they're grinding, and they have to optimize every dollar that comes in. They've got to watch every expense dollar going out to make sure, is that truly an expense or is it an investment? And if it's an investment, what kind of return are we getting on that dollar? Right. So inventories on their balance sheets are critical
Right.
right
Right.
now. Um, so we
Yeah, I
try to,
feel like just in the general taking that statement and looking around, there's more marketing being done than we've seen. There's more balloons on on antennas
yes,
and more Saturday tent sales, and there's just a little more effort being put forth on that to get people's interest fired up. So yeah, money has to continue to flow. Things have to sell. Because what you don't want to do is have a backlog where dealers have to quit buying inventory
oof,
from the manufacturer, because then that's when layoffs start happening, and then you get this doom loop. It spirals out of control. So, but right now, not inventoried to the point of a liability. I don't think, whether it's construction, ag, or automotive, unless you've seen something I haven't. But certainly something to keep our eye on going forward.
right, right. Well, and the thing that helps a lot of our automotive dealers is in the last several years, they've done a really good job of reeling in their parts and service departments, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
the
much
dealers
more
that,
efficient.
yeah, the dealers that I've worked with on the automotive side have really improved their operations. And now that they're squeezing more percentage points to the bottom line out of both their departments, they're doing a really bang up job with their parts inventory. Most of them that I'm working with, their inventory turns are outstanding, so they put a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of training dollars into getting those departments where they need to be. But now those are paying dividends for them versus the
Yeah. Oh,
dealerships that
absolutely.
call us. Yeah, we get dealerships that call us and say, hey, we need some help, or we're thinking we need some help, and blah, blah, blah. And we start talking to them a little bit about their P&Ls, and I study their balance sheets, and we talk about their culture and just get a few KPI metrics out of them. And Doug, I'm telling you, those dealers, they're struggling. They know they're struggling, but they had their head buried in the sand in the last several years, and
Yeah.
just thinking status quo was going to get them by, and now they're really struggling.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing and that leads to another discussion about where is AI going to go. Right now, AI stocks are hot. There's a lot of considerations and opinions on both sides of the equation of whether to get in or get out of things like data centers and that kind of thing. That's kind of a dirty word in our world, but um, that infrastructure has to be built. We cannot fall behind as a country in that. I think that there's case to be made for some um, reasons why we need to do it. I think it's just a matter of where we do it and how we do it, and to make sure that it is environmentally correct and safe for our water supply and all the things that are really important to everybody on both sides of the equation. But We're using it already. There's thousands of data centers in our country already that have been there that are parts of, they're just not giant data centers, but they
Correct.
are still, nonetheless, they are still a very important part of what makes our infrastructure work because our internet, or the ability for AI to work to make things even more efficient. You're talking about efficiency in the dealership today. And it's not that you're going to lose jobs necessarily. I think that's one of the things that I think people are starting to get over. They realize that they're going to make jobs more efficient and make people better at what they do. And if you're not working in the AI space and using it somehow in your current role, you are probably going to be behind somebody who already is. So,
Amen.
even on how we evaluate financial statements or use it in our decision making process to improve it, you still have to put the human element with it. But there's things going on in my world every day that new things that are coming out on just how we market to people, the how we use data. It amazes me how much information dealerships, um, contractors, banks, insurance, everything you think of has a ton of data. And if they could understand their customer 5%
Just a
better,
little bit. Yes, just a little bit better.
oh, incremental. Yeah. And that's what's going to make us. And I think that is probably a lot of what is keeping us alive with this robust economy and continuing to be a productive country as we continue to deploy technology, whether it's AI or anything else, in such a way where we just find a better way. It's just who America is. We're going to find a way to make profit. If the profit's there, we just might have to do it a little different way, right?
Right. We need to
So
mine it a little different.
that's right. That's right. But we're finding it. And so that's what I'm saying. Right now, there's a lot of things we can improve on. There always is. But there's also a lot we can be very grateful for. We don't have 14% prime rates today.
Oh,
Um,
can you
our store
imagine?
shelves are full. Our schools are going to fire back up, and those kids are going to get back in there, and they're going to have a great school year, and every kid's going to have a lunch. You know, those things that we can count on as a country, we can still count on those. So, um, but we still have to take care of those who need a hand up, not a handout. And as
That's
long
right.
as we're doing that as a country, we're going to be fine. So,
Yeah. Well, and you're
yeah,
spot on as far as I was just in the southern part of our states working with some dealers, and there is a huge divide. There's a big chasm between large data centers, those that are building them and wanting them, and those that don't. I mean, those two are like this right now. And I was talking to a couple producers that have sold some ground, and the multiplier that they put on their per acre charge, what they thought, hey, here's what production ag per acre is going to sell for in my area. Call it 8,000, 10,000, whatever you want. When they
yeah,
put a 6 times multiplier to that to sell that same ground, and there's absolutely no hesitation, the guy's thinking, I should have doubled it. I should have put a 12 times multiplier to it. And he probably would have got it because there is so much money on this side to be invested in that infrastructure versus every other, it just, the money, the dollars just don't make sense. And how do you fault a guy that's going to get 6 times multiplier for what is a good, strong market price? He marked it up 6
absolutely.
times.
Already.
How do you
Yeah.
fault that guy?
I don't know. And that's just it. There's so much money that's pouring in, and it's not necessarily government dollars that are propping
No,
that up. It's
no, it's
private
not. It's
investment
private.
dollars, or people are out there. We look at the AI stocks out here on the stock market, and you're like, they keep getting funded and funded and funded. And, we talked about the SpaceX thing. People were still buying that at 225. They're going to ride that wave for a while. But, you know, if it's a technology, um, we've proven time and time again, getting in on the front end of it's not a bad thing.
Right.
And, there's so many experts in the field today that are saying that AI is going to be, it's going to be the next internet revolution and even exponential over that. And that thought, just living at our age where we're at, that's mind blowing. We saw it free, cell phone cameras and internet, thank God,
Right.
through it, and what raised our kids in it. And they don't know any different, you know, they've had Google their entire life,
That's right.
but
That's right.
where can AI take us? It's an amazing frontier. That's why people are pouring their money into it. corporations are going out and making those investments. So there is just an inordinate amount of money out there to build these things. And so you're right. The multipliers, there's a point in time. Um, I'm a math guy. I put people in debt. I try and get them out of it. That's what I do for a living.
Right.
Well, I'm here to tell you that multiplier you're talking about will get some people out of debt pretty quick.
Oh man,
And
that
it's generational wealth that they could.
that's exactly it. That's
Yeah, they're
exactly
going to take care of grandkids that they don't even know about yet. And so um, it's just amazing to see how those things go. But I also understand the society and the community impacts of those things too, and what that means. And there's a lot to be considered. So I would have to really check my moral clause a little bit about selling if I didn't know who I was selling to. Um, and I think that's where our country is in this dynamic of, well, I can sell it, but how am I going to feel? Is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? I guess. So,
Yep. Well, and the gentleman I was talking to was saying exactly that. It's going to take him, he and his sons and his grandsons would never make enough money by the time the grandson, if everything holds true all the way through his grandson being 55, they would never make enough money off that ground to
no,
ever
no,
even come up with the interest they're going to earn off of this money, just the interest off the
yeah,
money. Right. And so
yeah.
I get it. It's like he's talking generational wealth now. And he didn't sell the entire farm, right? He didn't sell off, I don't know how many sections he sold, but he didn't sell off his entire operation. But now the rest of his operation is debt free. He's not going to have to worry about it any longer. And it's like,
He gets to farm for fun now.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. A lot of that
yeah,
stress and all those years of going to bed stressed out and sweating at night are done for this individual family, right? But
yeah.
it does bring up a whole nother dynamics with other people. Like, how do you sell it? How do I not? And what do you do for the supply of water and those kind of things?
I lost you there for a second on my back.
Yes, you are. There you are.
Technology is great when it works. So I
Amen.
apologize.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
But
But no,
yeah,
the generational impact, I think it's a big deal. And and generationally, if you look back at the city you live in, I don't care what your zip code is in the country, there were decisions that were made generations before us that we stand on the shoulders of, good and bad.
correct.
You can go anywhere, and things that our forefathers did or did not do shaped the future for not only themselves, but the entire community. And so we were doing some cleanup here at the bank, and we found it was a journal basically that they had done, the newspaper had done in 1905.
Wow.
And I mean, the pages were so brittle, Wayne, but we're folding them over like wearing gloves. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But we found this thing because this bank building's been here since 1887.
Wow.
Burnt once, built it back in the turn of the century. But it was describing the economy of Henderson County, Kentucky, 1905, and the decisions that were being made then. And I'm just sitting there as I'm reading all this, I was just blown away by it. And I look ahead 121 years later, that the things they did in 1905, how it has played out today, and whether it's some of our adjoining, closer, larger cities, why did we not get that same opportunity, or what? They made choices over 100 years ago that are still here today. I'm not going to say good or bad. We love where we live, and it is it's a fantastic little burg in the world. But everybody's the same way. These data centers are going to be 100 years from now. What is our country going to look like if we do or don't? Are we going to sit down and think, what if? I don't know. It's a lot to think
It's a
about, but
lot.
they are going to be the impact of generations to come, no question. So
Elon Musk, I love listening to that guy. And he was talking to a reporter, and he was telling about how just intraday perspective has changed for him from being really optimistic about AI to absolutely being horrified about AI all in the same day. Right. I mean, and he's right. And I agree with him. I mean, I look at it in one hand and I say, gosh, look at how great the future could be. Then I think about my
mhm.
grandkids and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, think of how ugly and terrifying this world could become, right? Because
Yeah,
that technology
oh,
can
yeah,
either be used for good or bad. And when it's being utilized for the benefit of society, it's great. It makes everything more efficient, more effective, more productive. When it's used, that same exact technology spun over here can have a very different feel to it, right?
Yeah.
Like I go through the airport and I have touchless contact, and I fought that for years. I said, no, TSA is not going to get my facial recognition. They don't need it. They got it. They
They
already
got
have it. They already have
all
it,
right.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you get away from it? Like you don't.
No. Well, and that's kind of the thing too. To your point, it's going to look different 100 years from now, right?
Totally.
There'll be remnants of it, but the things we're scared of today, our grandchildren, great grandchildren especially, will not have the same fear of AI that we do.
Not
Just
at all.
like kids today can take a phone at 18 months and outperform anything that this old man could do. I mean, it's
Right.
literally, there's a lot going on there. You're like, well, okay, this kid's, but they've been raised in it. They're not afraid of it. They know how to interact with it. It's the same way. So, but we have a healthy fear, I think, right now as a society. I love that we're asking lots of questions. I'm glad we are keeping things like water um, at the top of the consideration change, environmental or
Yes.
pollutant things, and energy usage. Can we produce enough to feed these things? And where do they need to be? I think it's a little argumentative, but it is a healthy argument right now that needs to be had, and hopefully we as a country and find the right places, the right things to do in order for us to put together a healthy program to let AI become a really positive part of the future. So, yeah,
And you're spot
really,
on. We need to have those robust discussions without letting just emotion take over, and then nobody's listening to either side, right? And then we come up with some stupid policies that don't make sense for anybody at the end of the day. So
yeah.
I agree with you.
And the hard part on that is, just like this podcast or social media outlets there's so many ways to get information, and the way algorithms are done, it sometimes it makes a bias really negative one way or the other. And so, gotta be careful that you gotta be able to ask hard questions and be respectful of the other side's opinion. Now you have to develop your own, but you don't have to do it in such a way that it can sway things. It can sway things from elections to decisions in your local city councils, or it doesn't matter. It's out there that federally, locally, statewide, wherever you're at. But the big thing is, Wayne, if you and I disagree, we're still friends, right? That's how
Amen,
this
brother.
world is meant to work. That
That's
you got
right.
to inherently kind of love your neighbor. As long as people can learn that, we're going to be all right.
Yep.
So
Yep. You know,
there,
and,
I'm preaching. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not.
hey, it's our podcast. We can do what we want, right?
I appreciate that. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, Doug, you know what? I've burned up about half an hour of your time. We try to keep these to about half-hour segments. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate everything you're doing
Heck
for
yeah.
us, and your wisdom in the markets. And I look forward to you enjoy your vacation. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to call you and say, "Hey, Doug, my 401k is in the tank," even though it's on a downward decline. I must tell you that I quit looking at it every day. I made a commitment. I did, but Doug, it's been
And
doing
don't
this.
you feel better? What's
No,
that?
no, it's
Well,
been doing this.
all right, I'm just
Now,
going to give you the typical broker's theology. All right,
yeah, here it comes.
Wayne,
Here it
I know
comes.
it's down.
Yes. But
Over time, you stay in. This is a buying opportunity. We're going to earn this back, and it'll be exponential. And that's actually proven to be true over time. So,
yes, over hundreds of years, it's absolutely rock solid advice. And one thing that I'm in this on is, I didn't jump in on the SpaceX IPO launch. I almost did. I remember I was talking to you about this. I almost bought
yeah,
in,
you did.
and I
Yeah.
decided, no, I'm going to hold off because I thought it was going to take off and then do this. My prediction is it's coming down, right? It's come down quite a ways. I think it's going to continue to come down. And in the next, I don't know, 30, 45 days, I'm going to buy some because I think it'll be at the right
There you
price.
go.
That's my prediction.
Timing the market's tough, but
It is.
I'm glad you didn't get in at the 225 mark or whatever it was.
Amen, brother. Yeah, two and a quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
All
brother.
good.
Hey,
Well, Wayne,
you
take
have a
care of yourself.
wonderful
Keep doing
vacation.
that nice.
All
All
right.
right. Take care of yourself.
See you, Doug.
Thank you.